what Saint Carlos Acutis have really clear is that Jesus in the Eucharist is the center. God is present in the Eucharist, and we're able to receive him and be with him and adore him and become one with him. And it is really important to realize that God is present in the Eucharist, that he's really there. We can think that it's crazy that God is in a piece of bread, but he is there. It's not a piece of bread anymore after the consecration. It's God. And we need to trust God. We need to realize that he knows everything, that he knows what is best. And also we need to know that the Eucharist is the heart of Jesus, but it's also the heart of the church and the heart of the faith. If a person doesn't have the Eucharist, it's like a person doesn't have a heart, cannot live. And it's amazing how Carlo Acutis identified, of course, with the gift of God, that the Eucharist is the center, that we need to trust God, that he's really on the Eucharist. We really, talking clearly, we can think that it's crazy that God is present in the Eucharist, that God is in a vulnerable way, in a naked way, in a way that people can make fun of him, can even make satanic things with the Eucharist, and God is really vulnerable. God that has all the power, all the beauty, all the goodness, all the mercy. God is so merciful, and he's in a really vulnerable place. And it's not that God is a fool, it's that God loves us so much, and that's why he chose to be in the Eucharist, because at the end, God has all the wealth, and he doesn't want to be loved by his wealth. He has all the beauty, and he doesn't want to be loved with all his beauty, because he wants that we truly love him. He wants us to have an authentic love for God. And therefore, the Eucharist at the end is a mystery, but when we trust God and say, okay, God, I realize that this is your plan to be in the Eucharist, and I accept it, and I respect you, and I love you, and let me discover the beauty of the Eucharist, and let me discover how much love you have for us, that you are in this vulnerable and beautiful way. And what we need to realize is that God knows everything. If God chooses the way of being with us in the Eucharist like this, is because it's the convenient way. And as a member of the Catholic Church, we need to realize that the Eucharist is the heart of Jesus, and that Jesus is really present. It's not that it's just a symbol or whatever. No, God is present in the Eucharist. He has given to us many Eucharistic miracles too. At the end, is a way of affirming that he is in the Eucharist, but we also need to trust him. In the Bible is really clear, the Eucharistic doctrine, and let's just trust God. He knows what's best, and he chose the Eucharist because he knows it. So we need to realize that we need to trust in God, and that God is really present in the Eucharist, and recognize that he is in the Eucharist, and that recognize when we go to Holy Communion, we need to be in grace, and we're receiving God in our heart. And it's so beautiful to realize that God is becoming one with us in the heart, in the Eucharist. And it's so amazing. I really recommend the Theology of the Body to realize how St. John Paul II told that the Eucharist is the sacrament of the spouses, of the bridegroom and the bride. And we need to realize that, of course, there is not a sexual relation, but it's like the sexual relation is the icon to realize how much God loves us and how we're becoming one with God. And of course, it's a mystery, and of course, if you put any lust on this, you will go to really bad places, and you need to realize that God loves us so much. God loves us even more than a bridegroom loves his bride. And we as a church, we're the bride of Christ, and we're receiving him. And as a bride, we just need to be open to him and realize that he loves us so much, and that at the end, this life is the main decision we have to do is we're going to love God or we are not going to love God, because love is never an imposition. God is love, and he gives us the election to choose to love and to be with him for all eternity, or simply choose to go away from God. And that place is hell. And since God is everything that is good, God is all love, all beauty, all intelligence, all, well, being in hell is the absence of every good. And it's terrifying to realize how is hell, but we need to choose God, and God is so great. And it's really important to realize that the Eucharist is the center. We need to recognize Jesus in the Eucharist and receive him and in grace, and let him take the lead and take us to places we have ever even imagined.